Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another deep dive episode of Silo by Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busso, alongside
the other host, Zachary Newton. Welcome back.
We're back with episode 5, titled Descent. They love the one-word titles of the show, huh? Not the two-word, like the. They hate the word the.
Yeah.
Imagine if the name of the show was The Silo. Then it would be kind of whack. It'd be a CBS 22-episode, 17th-season show, right?
Yeah, I was kind of annoyed when the last episode had the word "the" in it. I just give me harmonium. I don't need the harmonium.
Yeah,
harmonium.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like the Social Network when Zuckerberg wants to name it the Facebook. It says kill the Facebook. I mean, that's when the Napster guy, played by Justin Timberlake, says that whole thing. Which, by the way, if anybody watches the Video Game Awards that just happened yesterday, it's probably the biggest game show for video games. And the guys who won the Oscar for Best Score, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Interesting.
They're going to score a video game called Intergalactic, which is by Naughty Dog, who made Last of Us. So since Last of Us got a TV show, pretty much anything Naughty Dog touches is narratively good enough to be adapted to a television show. That's why you're going to get Last of Us Season 2, which we're not covering unless it's spectacular. And that's why Uncharted should get a remake and not sorry, Tom Holland, I like you, but that movie was really crappy.
I haven't watched
Uncharted
it yet.
also should get a... Anyways,
it seemed a little cheesy.
Rabbit hole that we start the episode off with. Zach, what are you drinking tonight before we get into the episode here?
I am drinking some nice wine from San Sebastian, the winery over here.
You want to market it to the people and then send it to San Sebastian because maybe you can get like a deal with them?
Yeah, I'll be like a lifer.
Yeah, we can spin off our wine podcast with the wineries over there.
100%. Yeah, it's solid though. I mean, it's a sweet wine. It's Vinters Red is the name of the wine. I'm not a sweet wine guy. I'm really not. But for the price, this is good. I'm normally like a Cabernet Sauvignon. I like it dry, but it's good.
Okay. All
nice. Right. How about you?
I'm pouring some Woodford Reserve here. We've gone through this this week, so I'm about 3/4 of the way down on this bottle this week. But had some company over. We had some spiked eggnog earlier in the week, which I never had eggnog before until this week. And this is the Christmas season, so Woodford, anybody sponsors? Please,
Woodford is solid. I actually just had a bite of eggnog flavored ice cream. My first taste of eggnog as well.
Sounds disgusting. I'm just kidding.
It actually tastes pretty decent. It sounds terrible.
I'm messing around.
Oh man.
No, the way we did it was eggnog with cinnamon and bourbon. So yeah,
that does actually kind of sound good.
The Roger Sterling would be milk with vodka.
Yeah, that's all you need.
The White Russian, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into Descent here. I was going to say another note before we started this show, but I don't remember what it was.
Don't ask me, dude.
Yeah. I guess we don't know each other that well. All right, let's get into it. That was like, I mean, you got to love us to put up with like the 5 minutes you just heard right there. But, I remember what it was. Somebody commented, because I remember I made the joke about this being a CBS 22 season show, if it was called The Silo. Well, somebody agreed with me because last episode or 2 episodes ago, I said, that this should be about a 4-season show max, because shows like this, as the mystery continues to unravel, it's kind of the see the alien, see the monster scenario where it gets really cheesy really fast.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're going to land. Yeah. If you don't know where you're going to land the plane, then prepare for a bumpy landing, right?
Yeah.
If you're lucky. We can probably do another TV episode and talk about how many shows have actually landed the plane successfully. And there's not a lot of shows that can do it. So,
yeah.
By the way, if you want to hear an interesting like thought on that, I know I'm just rambling here. Tarantino was on Joe Rogan, and he's probably the most interesting person to listen to in terms of film talk. And he gives an opinion, which would probably be a good React clip for us to do. He gives an opinion on TV shows that I don't really necessarily agree with. Which is that TV shows feel like soap operas, but I do agree with him in one essence, is that a TV show every single season needs to leave you with a scene, a moment that impacts you in a way that you're going to remember 20 years down the road. And he says that most TV shows, they devolve, and I do agree with this, into this kind of soap opera feeling where you're caught up in the drama, but you don't remember one particular scene, right? And but there are shows that break the mold on that do have moments that are just that you will never forget how they made you feel or what you were thinking when it happened. So,
yeah. Was there any moments like that in this episode for you?
No. The only scene maybe this entire season that might stick with me is the Meadows scene with Bernard. And maybe it's probably the one that would stick with me from this season so far.
Yeah.
But this is most films don't do this. Most films don't stick with you in a way that there's a moment that occurs. But there's TV scenes that stick out to me that I'll never forget. For example, in the TV show Luther with Idris Elba, when I had just kind of discovered who Idris Elba was, there's a scene in the first episode where he wants to get back with his estranged wife, and he finds out that she's either she's with someone else or she's cheating on him. And there's a moment of volatility where he just destroys the door. I mean, shreds it, rips it from the hinge. It's like and it's a perfect scene for his character, Luther. It perfectly encapsulates the type of character he is. And that scene sticks out. Breaking Bad, where he's in the floor space and he goes, "Where's the money, Skyler? I gave it to Ted." That I'll never forget that scene ever. I mean, there's a million scenes from Breaking Bad, and then Mad Men. There's a million. I mean, there's a lot of great series, but I think that's the kind of test, right? Are those moments that stick out, right?
Yeah. Well, I would agree with you. I don't think this episode really had any of those moments for me, but it was a really solid episode. It felt pretty action packed. There was a lot going on. However, we were talking about this in the instant reaction. It kind of feels like the next episode is going to be a little bit of a lull. It's going to be, I'm saying it's just going to be Juliette, not on her deathbed, but just in recovery mode for the most of it.
She dies next episode. Yo,
she dies.
You imagine if she dies?
The missile goes up. Oh man, dies
Solo
from an
becomes
infection.
The protagonist. You think she's gonna have to chop off her arm? That was a wicked infection.
Dude, I don't know, man. I was gonna ask, what the heck was that? I'm so.
That wasn't a normal infection.
No, did she get cut on metal when she was coming into the silo, or did something happen outside?
She landed on her arm, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she landed pretty wickedly on her arm, and I think, remember I said that was where the tape unsealed.
Yeah.
From her arm. I think that whatever touched her skin was like whatever was outside, like whatever the chemical or stuff is outside. That I think has to do with why her infection looks so gnarly. Yeah.
It feels like it because I didn't really remember her getting impaled into her arm or cut badly. I thought it was like the suit got ripped and I thought it was the same thing. Like the outside got to her arm and kind of burned her. But it does look gnarly. Like it looks like, I don't know, like flesh-eating disease or something. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yo, make a note. Let's do an episode. This is on the air. This is whatever. Let's do an episode, a bonus content thing of most memorable TV shows and moments type of thing.
Okay.
You're experiencing one right now because I know when you experience them because you text me at the most odd hours ever.
Yeah.
And you're watching. You can say it for the audience. You're watching a certain show for the first time in preparation for this month. Go ahead.
I am, and I'm on the very last episode of the first season of Squid Game right now.
So you binged the hell of it out of the last 3 days.
I binged it all in the last 3 days. It's very shocking, but I think, look, if you can stomach episode 1, I think you can stomach the rest of the show. But man, it's interesting. I'm having trouble seeing how this bleeds into a season 2 so far.
I didn't ever expect it would be a season 2.
Yeah, this feels like a one and done kind of show too.
We'll see if it can actually compete. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, season 1, first and foremost, took the world by storm.
I remember it being a cultural phenomenon.
On the TV show side of things, like from a cultural foreign language show, which the Koreans are badass. I mean, if I were to visit one Asian country first, They'd probably be South Korea. I mean, their culture. I mean, just first and foremost, the movie Parasite to me was the one that broke it open. I think that was what opened the floodgates for all the foreign content that you're getting now on every single streamer.
Yeah, that was great.
I remember that quote he said, I think when he won the Oscars, or it might have been a different award that he won. And he was essentially saying there's a barrier on the bottom of the screen. It's like a 3-inch barrier. And it's the subtitles. If you can get past subtitles, then a whole world of cinema unlocks for you. And I think Squid Game did that, but for TV shows for people, because that show was the #1 show on Netflix when it came out. And it really sticks with you. That's a show that sticks with you big time.
It does. Time. I've already started talking to a few people about it. But
yeah, I bet. Don't talk to too many people, dude. You do that, and then remember what happened to you with Game of Thrones.
Oh no, it's people that have never seen the show.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. So I'm safe with that. Let's get
let's transition. This is the deep dive. We can talk
into the deep dive.
We're descending like Knox and Shirley, like down the winch with the winch. We got to do some scientific research on the effects of the winch. But let's get into the episode. There's a lot that takes place. There's a lot of descending. We pick up, which one of the things I really love about this season is that we are going episode to episode, like right after. Like there is the story's tight.
No time jumping.
Yeah, no time jumping. We are sticking with exactly what occurred in the previous episode, and feels like no time wasting. And I hope it continues that way through the end. We pick up with Knox, Shirley, Martha, and McLean going down the stairs trying to get back to mechanical, but they run into a bunch of obstacles. Almost predictably, they get betrayed by the Porters, which is this shady organization that essentially runs sort of the black market, but also seems to be doing favors for the powers that be, like Bernard, and they seem to know how to grease both sides of the wheel in some sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're keeping an eye out for themselves only. But yeah, I wasn't quite expecting the Porters to be this important ever in this story.
One of the things that I thought candidly when I was watching this episode was, damn, the people in the silo really love the judge that they never have ever seen. You know, they really love this judge. I mean, you got 300 people just running down the stairs to kill 2 people, but maybe that's just human nature. Maybe there's not enough entertainment in the silo, and this is kind of the equivalent of like the running of the bulls, where they're just like, hey, go kill 4 people, you know, which it seems like Bernard is sparing the 2 elderly. He wants to make an example of just Knox and Shirley, and Martha is just kind of marching down the stairs. Nobody stops her at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody really knows who Martha is. She's been locked away for 20 years. Similar to Judge Meadows, who's been an alcoholic the last 25 years. So yeah, it's interesting. I think it's people caring about the position more than the person. I mean,
she said. Anyways.
All right, buddy.
I agree. I think that it's one of those things where this is Bernard's plan, right? It's to reset, as Sims says in this episode. This is a reset plan for Bernard. If this plan is successful, Bernard gets the entire silo back into his control. So what's standing in his way? You got a few things standing in his way in this episode. You can't let these people get back to mechanical, because then now mechanical is strong enough, I think, to fortify the lower levels, where now you got these 2 who are the figureheads that are going to organize the people down there, right? You have Sims, who has now been demoted, which is probably the most interesting scene in the episode, which is when Bernard just breaks in and starts using their coffee maker, which is kind of a move you would probably do if you were the overseer. You would just immediately go to somebody's coffee machine in there. Tell me you wouldn't do that. That would be your shit. That would be your move. Your power.
Guys, this coffee maker's a piece of crap.
You'd walk in half drunk into the room, which Bernard definitely was in that scene, and then you'd be like, "You drink drip? You drink plain drip? You don't do pour overs?
You put milk in your coffee?"
And then you would immediately remove somebody from being your shadow if you found out they put cream in their coffee.
No, imagine I find out they don't even drink coffee; they just drink tea.
They drink tea. Oh God! But you're a black tea guy.
I love tea, but somebody that doesn't like coffee but just loves tea.
Careful. That's our second largest. That's our second largest market in the audience. So do not
I'm
insult.
I'm not that much of a dick. Come on.
Yeah, no, that was to me the most interesting scene. You know, Bernard entering into Sim's house and just saying, "Hey, calling him out straight up. This is a continuation from what we saw last episode when he tells Sims, I know it was you.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he went on a bender and drank probably a bunch of the old times whiskey and went to Sim's house. He looks very disheveled, uncombed hair, and is like, you're no longer going to be my shadow. Makes him judge, which seems to be, I wrote this down as a side note. I feel like maybe the same exact thing, but in a different way that happened to Meadows, which is this is somebody who's too important. We can't sideline them completely, but we're going to put him in a position that is essentially useless in the silo, which is the judge. The judge is essentially the second most powerful person knowledgeably, but it's where you go to die, right?
Yeah, it sure seems like that. I mean, I haven't really seen any judges in this show that seem to have any power. It does kind of sound weird that becoming the judge is a demotion, but I mean,
it's a fake position. It's everything sort of a member. And there's hints of that, and that's why it's such good writing. There's hints of that all over this episode. It's Sims hates his job. He's not going to deal with it, right? He's not going to support Bernard. You got Pete Nichols, who goes to Bernard's office in this episode and almost immediately looks through the facade of what this guy's asking him for and says, listen, I'm not going to help you. I've sacrificed, I've lost everything. I lost my daughter, my son, my wife. I've lost any sense of professional pride in what I do, professionalism, by giving people false hope. And you see that all throughout the silo, right? Of people who are not now going to listen to Bernard. You even have Knox talking to Shirley candidly saying, I wonder if every floor thinks that they're the reason that the silo can run, right? And because of that, now he's disillusioned and thinks that, maybe what we do is actually not important at all, because as we find out from Silo 17, IT has a power source that is completely run outside of the silo. So no matter what happens within the silo, IT is going to run no matter what.
Yeah, IT, but I don't think it can power the rest of the silo beyond maybe just like those emergency lights.
By the way, we might be able to reverse engineer how long Solo's been in there by the amount of time he said that the water was going to take to rise. So if the water's about 30 levels beneath him right now, right? I think that's what they said. It was like 30 something levels beneath him, or maybe 30.
Or maybe it was on the 30th floor, maybe.
How many floors are there? There's like 100 and something or something like that. I forgot, 120.
I should probably look that up.
Yeah, but I feel like we could calculate that, or somebody who's like smart enough could calculate that and find out by that calculation how many months it took to get. Yeah, how many months it took to get to where it's at, and how many months more it would take to get to IT's level, and kind of figure out, reverse engineer how long he's been there in some sense. Although there is something interesting that happens with Solo in this episode. Did you quite understand what was going on there with Juliette, where she goes to the apartment and she essentially finds out that Solo took the name of somebody else and claims that he was the shadow of IT, right?
Yes.
I don't believe he actually was. Now, the question is, did he kill the people in that photo frame? Are those the two bodies that you see outside of the vault?
Maybe he was the guy that was still in the silo somehow. I don't really know. I mean, we know this had to have at least been 25 years ago. I just feel like he was a kid at the time.
Not a little kid, maybe a teenager.
Yeah, maybe not like a 8-year-old kid. Yeah, he might have been a teen or something. But I mean, he did make reference to Russell's kid, and Russell. Yeah, I mean, Russell was what was he? Was he IT or?
Russell was the head of IT.
Yeah, he was the head of IT. So I mean, I don't know. I find him very intriguing, and I can never quite figure out like what Solo or whatever his name's going to be. He said his name in this episode was Cole Myers.
Well, he didn't admit to that. Juliette was deducing that that's what it was.
Well, he said his name was Cole Myers in this at some point. It was early in the episode. It was before she had seen like the photo and the papers.
Oh, that's
and all
right.
That stuff.
And he tells the whole story about, I went to this party and Russell's kid heard me say I'm Solo, and it stuck from there. Yeah.
I remember. So,
Yeah.
I mean, interesting dude. I'm waiting for him to explode, not just verbally, but physically at some point.
Well, I wrote down that he's dangerous. Do you think that he's going to get to the point where he actually tries to maybe kill Juliette or hurt her? Because I can't see that happening, but I did write down in that scene where he snaps that he is dangerous, that he is capable of hurting somebody if he goes so far, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's a fair statement with most anybody. But I think the reason why he seems so dangerous, at least watching the show, is because he seems so mentally unstable with things.
Yeah,
I mean, aside from just him, acting and appearing extremely childish overall, I mean, I would assume that his ability to reason and read the room is not great either. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he's like, he kind of, I think I made reference to this in the first episode of the season. He kind of reminds me of that guy from Blackbird, the Apple show.
Yeah, you did say that already.
Yeah, like the guy that's in prison. Like he's just like, his demeanor's so soft and like just so quiet. But then, man, that when he opens up, violence. It's dark, man.
Yeah,
very dark. Yeah.
So I made this comment on the instant reaction episode, which you guys should check out every week when we do those. And I mentioned that. What did I mention? I mentioned that Juliette was sick, right? She collapses. Yeah. How we end this episode. And I mentioned that I think that Solo is going to take it upon himself to pretty much have no choice but to tend to her inside of the vault. It's either lose her or break the code of everything you have followed and bring her into the vault and save her. And I think we'll probably, I did say in the instant reaction that I feel like next episode might be a kind of a filler, but I don't think, I sort of take it back. Why? Because she's not going to be asleep the whole damn episode.
Hopefully not.
So I figure she'll wake up, be in the vault, and learn a lot. And we're going to learn a lot because as of right now, where we are in the series, it's still incredibly interesting to find out the secrets of, the silo's history, of why it was formed, who's behind it, the order, all these things that we don't know about, right? Yeah. Probably the most interesting thing so far is what the hell did Salvador Quinn write to his wife in that coded message? And when are we going to find that out? And what impact is that going to have on what goes on in the silo? Because as I mentioned, once again, in the instant reaction, I think Bernard, there's no way we end season 2 without Bernard dying. And I think that his redeeming moment will be finding out what's inside of that note and what actions he takes after that fact, right?
Yeah, like maybe this will end up bringing us back to one of your previous, thoughts on like how to fix the silo, where Bernard kind of sacrifices himself. He kind of makes an example of things because maybe he realizes everything that he knew and thought was actually wrong. I mean, I will say he seemed rather surprised with the elements on the map that Lucas found, showing these tunnels that kind of lead out from what was it, IT?
Yeah, the bottom floor,
yeah,
IT,
all the way down at the bottom,
and the top, obviously. But IT, with reference to what we hear Solo say, IT gets its power source outside of the silo, right? So that line coming out of IT is clearly to whatever power source that may be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I was thinking it was just like the power line, but I suppose, I mean, maybe it's actually like a way that these silos are all connected and you can kind of travel from one to another.
So I mentioned in the instant reaction that there's a possibility, I think, that Lucas might be named Shadow. It remains to be seen how Lucas feels about Juliette at this point. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It remains to be seen what Lucas's position would be if he finds out the information that Bernard knows, right? If he's trusted with that kind of information, what would he do? Would he go to the dark side, or would he be like a Meadows, who is kind of like a 50-50, right?
Yeah.
But the most chaotic option for the series, which they say, right? What is the saying? Everything, the most chaotic option is like the most interesting or the most entertaining, or something like that.
I have no idea what the saying is, but it sounds plausible.
I guess the most interesting thing that could happen is that if Bernard dies without naming a shadow. Because that is probably the biggest flaw in his candidacy at this moment is that he's yet to name a shadow. So who becomes in charge of the silo after that? Is it Sims, or is it a civil war, a reach for power? Is it Billings, right? We talked about Billings in the instant reaction, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
It would be very interesting if Bernard just dies without naming a shadow. But if he does die without naming a shadow, how does anybody get into the vault? Because I'm assuming that means the code dies with him.
I'm sure somebody would be able to get into the vault, but I don't know how it would work necessarily. But I don't know how he would have his redeeming moment. But I think if it does come, it will be after finding out what Salvador wrote to his wife. Because in a similar sense, Meadows was kind of like his wife that never was.
It's his love. Yeah.
Right? It's his true love. So, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about Billings a little bit.
All right.
Billings, we've been talking about it all season. I think we literally mentioned it last episode. I think we both said something along the lines of he's continuing to go down this rabbit hole of him finding out more and more information. And like the Bible says, with much wisdom is much sorrow type of thing.
Yeah.
The more he finds out, the bigger the freaking responsibility and crap pile he's digging himself in, right?
Yeah.
No further than finding Kennedy. We can talk about this. We now know the piece of paper he ripped, which is interesting because I was just sort of just at this place that he ripped out of the Georgia handbook, which is the Blue Ridge Parkway. Okay. And he says, I have no idea why I did it, but I ripped out this page. Why did he do it? Because the Blue Ridge Parkway is beautiful. That's why.
Yeah.
If you've ever driven it, if you've ever seen it, it's a beautiful, beautiful road to drive on and it's just do the sightseeing, pull over to the side and look out like down over the mountains. It's beautiful. And even Kennedy, immediately upon seeing the piece, like the Blue Ridge Parkway advert, immediately confides in Billings, says, I'll tell you everything I know, but I need you to get me an actual doctor, which is going to be Pete Nichols, right? Everything is coming together for mechanical at this moment. And the entire sort of revolutionary force is, whether they know it or not, because none of them know it, but they're all pretty much on the same page now, which that would be Knox, Shirley, Billings, Pete Nichols. And probably the one who's least on their side at the moment is Juliette, because she saw outside and she saw what happened to another silo. So her goal is to get back in time to stop this crap from getting to past the boiling point.
Yeah. I mean, I think Juliette definitely wants to get back to stop the potential civil war that's going to break out here. But I do not see that as her in any way, shape, or form trying to prevent everybody from getting the truth.
Well, I think they want the truth. I think what her point is going to be, we cannot go outside. We cannot go outside at this moment, at least not recklessly. I just came from a silo where I saw that, right? Let's talk about the fact, do you think that what do you think Billings is going to do? Because one of the last things we see in this episode is Bernard calling down to Billings saying, Knox and Shirley are down there. I need you to arrest them now. And Billings says, I will always serve the pact, right? He said, I'll serve the pact. Okay. Serving the pact would not be arresting Knox and Shirley. It would be arresting Bernard. And we also talked about that on the instant reaction, which is, could he pull the reverse Uno and Bernard thinks he's going to get, that they're going to get arrested. And in fact, Billings arrests Bernard because in his conversation with Hank, we know that he does not believe that they killed Meadows.
Yeah. I mean, it could be arresting Bernard. I mean, if you're going to follow, I guess, the spirit of the pact and not the letter of the pact, the spirit of the pact being protect the silo at all costs, seemingly. Yeah. Maybe he does kind of arrest Bernard. I just don't see Billings arresting, Knox and Shirley. I really don't see that happening, because if he really was honoring the pact as like the letter of the law, following like the letter of the law, I mean, he'd have to arrest himself. I mean, he's technically not even supposed to be allowed in the position that he's in because of the pact. So I don't, aside from his wife and kid being used as leverage against him, I don't think he's on Bernard's side.
Well, that was going to be my next point. It's critical that he gets his wife down to the down deep. Like, critical.
Yeah.
Critical.
Maybe she'll
Pete
take
Nichols.
a ride with Pete Nichols.
Yeah. Maybe they can take the winch together.
Yeah.
Which the winch is no more because Amundsen threw it over with stunning accuracy.
Yeah.
Right.
Knox and Shirley's spines should also be no more from.
Yeah, they should have been ripped from their skin.
I'm going to tell you, my back hurt watching that. I was like, oh, God, no. I was expecting someone's back to just break in half, to be honest.
So that happens. Okay, not only does that happen, but after they get the whiplash of falling, right, and stopping, which what choice did they have, really, right? Then they also have the power to, climb up this railing, right, with the help of people, obviously. They were just waiting there. I guess the winch isn't gone because it would be at the bottom of the silo, right?
Yeah, should be down there. But I mean, it's kind of useless because that guy shot the cable.
True. But we got Martha, who's like MacGyver.
Yeah, she'll fix it. She'll figure it a way. What do you think about Lucas? Do you think he's going to, I guess, stay out of the mines? Or do you think he's going back this season? He's kind of solving problems pretty quickly. When I would imagine you'd want to take your sweet old time on that.
Yeah, you would think he would do it like an hourly worker. Just kind of taking his sweet ass time.
Sorry, couldn't find anything today.
Yeah. I'm gonna circle back with you next week. I hope Lucas goes back to the mines because I would love to see these damn mines.
I really would too. And yeah, I would really like to see the mines. Like, just
send his ass back to the mines. Send his ass back to the mines. Those scrawny ass. Send him back there. Let's see what's back there. Are we ever gonna see the mines? Where do these mythical mines exist?
What do they do? Where do they go? Where are they in the silo?
That's like Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers. He's calling his mom, "Ma, the meatloaf." What does she do back there? What's going on? Yeah, what do they do in the mines? I hope his ass goes back there. But no, look, if you're Lucas, what would you be doing? You'd be like Mr. Steve Wozniak with that computer chip. You would be finding everything on there. You'd be breaking everything down.
Bernard.
Yeah, you would. Bernard has Lucas by the actual balls right now, dude.
Okay, all right. But what I would try to do is slowly drip information out to him, so it doesn't look like you're doing nothing, like you're finding things. But you don't want to just spill your guts every time. You always got to have something in your back pocket. So then when Bernard gets pissed off, he's like, "I'm putting you back in the mines." You could be like, "Wait, I saw something."
But maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe his thought process is, there is somebody in IT who can do this better than I can at this moment. Mm-hmm. So why don't I just go all out? Maybe I can impress Bernard so much that I become so useful that he can't get rid of me.
Yeah, maybe.
That was a good point. You know it.
It's a good point, but I feel like if Lucas just would have to be really naive to really believe that. They're not good people.
Now you sound like Linder. Now you sound like Linder right now.
I mean, they're not good people.
You don't believe Bernard's gonna have a redeeming moment. I am on the
I didn't say that. I didn't say he couldn't have a redeeming moment. I just said he's not a good person.
Okay.
And as we know him right now, he's definitely not a good person. I think. I mean, when I think back at this show, I almost think of Bernard more than I do Juliette.
Bernard is the most memorable character on this show.
Yeah,
100%, 1,000%. He's the most memorable character on this show.
So I feel like for his death to be impactful, assuming he does die at the end of the season or sometime in the season, like you're predicting, which should probably be a wager.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Write that one down.
All right. We'll do that as a wager.
You're willing to take the opposite on that? You don't think he's gonna die?
I mean, look, we got to put some bets out. It's been a minute since we've done that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm gonna say Mario says Bernard dies this season.
I should get the reward of that, right? Because think about it. If I have the courage to put the bet out there,
to
stand on my 2 feet on my ground, right?
Yeah, on your ground.
then yeah, I think I get to pick the strong side there.
There you go. I will take the odds on that one. I think it's a good bet. I mean, it's a very big bet. I mean,
big bet. I should
the
get 2
biggest
points
character of the show, living or dying. I mean,
do I get 2 points if that's right?
No, not 2 points. What was I gonna say though? No, I mean, I feel like for his death to be as impactful as I would want it to be, I do think he needs to have some sort of redeeming moment. Because I feel like there's like a much greater evil out there than the evil that we know in the silo. And I feel like we kind of need something that unites everybody. It unites the up top and the down deep. And maybe there's something that Bernard does in his redeeming moment that gets us there. And kind of, I guess, gets everybody to focus and get riled up to fight the greater evil, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Great moment. We're going to talk about Camille the Conqueror soon, Sims' wife. We're going to find out more about how fearsome she is in the silo. But I did like the moment that Knox and Shirley share in the closet. I thought they were going to do it at one point. But I can't quite tell if Shirley is attracted to Juliette or not. I can't quite tell.
I don't know. I kind of feel like we picked up on something there in season 1.
Between her and Juliette, I don't
maybe.
think so. I think Shirley has the hots for Knox, to be honest. So here's what I'm thinking. At first, I was like, maybe you don't know Shirley. She has a look. But there was a moment where Knox says that he likes Juliette, and she was like, I didn't know you liked Juliette. And he was like, oh well, I kind of do like Juliette. And she was like, what do you mean you like Juliette? So that at a certain point, she was almost like, shit, maybe I don't like Juliette so much. Maybe I'm a little bit jealous. And Knox kind of maybe has the hots for Juliette, So I thought maybe in this, in this little janitorial room they were in, that they might, but they didn't have a lot of time either.
Yeah, they didn't. It was only a 49-minute run time on this episode, so
yeah, true.
Yeah, not enough time for anything.
That wasn't my whole point here. I do think something will eventually happen with those two. But what I liked about that scene was that both of them acknowledged that they were wrong in some way. So Shirley finally acknowledged that her way of doing things would have led to everybody's death
already. Yeah.
And Knox thought he was wrong, but in reality, I think Knox might have been right, which is that all of this stuff that's going on, the meadows dying, the coming back down, and the crap hitting the fan, his actual route was the right way. I just think that he's thinking about it a little bit too negatively right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think, I mean, given the plans that were laid out in front of us, I would definitely take his plan over Shirley's very aggressive plan.
Yeah.
I'm all for, a show of strength, but don't rush into things without having, thought through the consequences and the reasoning behind why you're doing it. Like doing something out of emotion. No, don't do that.
Were you surprised that Sim's wife is essentially like the most fearsome back alley shot caller in the entire battle?
I wasn't expecting it, but it doesn't feel very out of character, just given how power hungry she seemed in the majority of episodes that we've seen her in.
She runs Sims. That's essentially what this episode told us.
And Sims was the boogeyman.
She manipulates the living actual hell out of Sims.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I agree. She does. Which is why I don't really find it very surprising that she's this unknown, formidable character. I mean, again, like Sims has been the boogeyman, and she's got him wrapped around her finger like it's nobody's business.
She's like the accountant to Billy Kimber and Peaky Blinders. She actually runs the show, but then she uses Sims as the boogeyman. When she goes in the stairs, she's like, I'm assuming most of you know who my husband is. He's like a pit bull. She just sends after everybody. So yeah. I still want to know what the hell her motive is. Is it the intoxicating effect of power, or is it something to do with their son?
I mean,
is it about getting their son a normal life above ground?
Above ground? I have no idea. I think it's more of her trying to get into control for safety and security. But also, I mean, she seems like somebody who would enjoy that power. I don't know if she'd go on like a power trip and do some crazy shit, but I mean, she definitely seems like somebody that wants the power, not just like, oh, I'm doing this because I think Bernard is bad for the silo or doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I don't really see that. And as far as like the reasoning for why she kind of went down there and did what she did, look, I think it was for selfish reasons. I think we all know what she wants for Sims, and it's for Sims to be Bernard's shadow so that he can then be the head of IT. But let's be real. If Sims becomes the head of IT, she's really the head of IT. Like that's the reality.
It feels like that's what it definitely feels like. Yeah. Okay, a few things to we got like 2 major stories before we wrap the episode here. But before we do, if you're enjoying our podcast coverage of Silo, make sure to like this episode on YouTube and subscribe to our channel everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. And stay tuned for the other content that we will be delivering to you on the channel, like Squid Game Season 2 and Severance Season 2, which I know when I said Severance, you were like, ooh, maybe I'll tune in for that. So please do.
Yeah.
And Netflix, stop releasing your stuff all at once. Just do.
Oh my God, I know. Just every week, once a week.
I would love to do Squid Game like episodically.
Weekly. Yeah, that would be great. But no, you gotta binge. I mean, I did binge the whole thing, but that's not the point. That's not the point. You need to drip it out. I think people's mental health are at stake here. We need to spread these things out, man.
Here we go. Okay, let's talk about Lucas. Do you have any predictions? I want to put you in that spot again that you're so uncomfortable in. What do you think Salvador Quinn was writing to his wife in The Secret Code?
What do I think? God, you like this. This isn't even close to an easy question. This is just like,
that's the point.
Zach, what's the biggest mystery of the silo? Gosh.
What is it? What is it? What was the secret that made Meadows disrupt her whole life? What is it, Zach? Tell me, and you need to be right. If you're wrong, the whole silo is gonna die. If you're wrong about this,
I feel like it had to have been something that.
Oh God, here was we go. Blanket answer.
Well, I'm gonna get to something. I gotta process this. This is not like what's your favorite flavor of cake. This is like,
got you.
I feel like it had to have been something that was like pretty defeating. Like it was just like it made you realize there's really no way to win. So I would imagine it was essentially telling her that look, there's people outside that are really in control of what's going on, and we have no say in what we're doing. Something to that effect.
All right, that's a pretty good answer.
Thank you.
And I won't leave you there. I'll try to give a guess as well.
Oh, thanks.
Damn it. I mean, it's a pretty good, solid guess. It would be essentially that everything that they're doing is a lie, and it's for no reason. That would be my guess. Everything they're doing is for no reason, but the up top is also hopeless.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a double negative in a sense.
And I think that is probably something that could have put Judge Meadows over the edge and turned her into an alcoholic.
Maybe.
Because she's like, why bother? Why? I'm already locked in this cage. I'm going to be locked in the cage in my head.
Yeah. Let's talk about Billings. It's probably going to be the most interesting thing that happens next episode, aside from Juliette maybe hopefully waking up in the vault.
Mm-hmm.
Billings now has pretty much the fulcrum of power has fallen into Billings' lap now.
Yeah.
He has a choice to go with the status quo, go with the flow, status quo, keep Bernard in power. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
Or he can buck the system and say, no, I know these two are innocent. I'm not going to arrest Knox and Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, Bernard, I'm going to ask you some questions and find out whether maybe you may be the one who needs some arresting because you have violated the pact, right? And maybe he's been telling people left and right that he's got the syndrome. Maybe he's going to be like, I've got the syndrome. I'm willing to go to jail. But we got to find out what the hell you did, right? So that's where we leave off with Billings, because I'm assuming when he says that I will always protect the pact in the interest of the silo, I'm assuming Kennedy already told him everything.
It felt like that. Yeah. Like I felt like he already knew everything at that point in this episode. And he was really just telling Bernard what he knew Bernard wanted to hear, or needed to hear, I should say.
And by the way, in my opinion, Billings is the clear best potential leader for the silo in a post-order, post-pact world. Or not post-pact necessarily, but definitely post-order. Like I'm talking about, if we're thinking about the silo objectively, let's say we were living in a silo and wanted to get back up above ground. The perfect leader in that silo would be Billings, 100%. 100%. He's the most honorable guy in the entire silo.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd pick him over Sims.
Juliette's not a leader in that sense. Juliette's like, you know what Juliette is like?
No.
Juliette's like the star player on a soccer team who doesn't vocally lead. They just kind of do their thing and everybody just follows, right? But she's not a vocal leader. She doesn't want to be a leader. Billings is a leader.
Juliette doesn't seem like any sort of, leader really. I mean, she operated like a lone wolf in all of season 1, and I don't think that's something that would change. Like, I can't see her at the helm of a rebellion.
She's like Don Draper. She's like Don Draper. Keep her head of creative. Don't make her don't put her in charge of the company.
Yeah, that probably would not be a good idea. I don't know. It's interesting. She's interesting. I just can't see her leading an army of individuals. So I guess like her only important role is going to be carrying information that it's bad outside, that she's alive, and that, hey, I've learned some things from another vault.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Juliette, we end the episode with her passing out after she finds the helmet, and we'll find out what happens next episode, which, if I had to predict something, I would say it's probably going to be Solo who tends to her, and then she wakes up in the vault and she finds out all the secrets of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I really want to see the inside of the vault.
Me too.
Of Silo 17.
The inside of the vault looks like a Kanye West spec house.
It kind of reminds me of, what was that video, that music video that he did with like Little Pump?
I don't know.
I don't know either. There was a song that they had together. It was a really stupid song, but catchy.
Let us know in the YouTube comments what song Zach is talking about. All right.
You should know.
Let's go to the YouTube comments.
Oh, we got some comments, huh?
I think.
I think so too. I had to show some interest there because I haven't read the comments since we last spoke.
These are from last week because we don't really cover the comments in the instant reaction too much, but let me go over there.
Somebody wants some Silo ASMR.
I just discovered this John Mayer song with Zed. Fantastic song.
That's a very odd mashup.
It's called Automatic. Yes, John Mayer's evolving, bro. He's evolving. All right. Reindeer J says, I know I'm nitpicking here. How long have they been down there? If the rebellion was 140 years ago, do we know how long they've been down there before that? I'm wondering because there wouldn't be very black... What? There wouldn't be very black people and there wouldn't be very white people? The silo should have a melting pot after many generations or everyone would be more or less the same. Maybe, Reindeer J, maybe. Or maybe Bernard's a white supremacist and he wants to keep things separate. Maybe. Maybe that's what's going on in this silo.
I mean, they do control the breeding. They do.
It's true.
Sounds very weird calling that breeding, but...
No, that's what it is. They're choosing who can have kids and who cannot have kids in the silo. Have we seen an interracial couple in the silo? I feel like we have. Hold on, shit. Holston and his wife. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But they weren't allowed to have a kid. Reindeer J, you're onto something here.
That's true.
Holy moly, Reindeer J. Okay. What a funny name, Reindeer J. I wonder if he loves Christmas. He must love Christmas to be Reindeer J. Anyways, Silo ASMR. Yes, please. When did we mention that? What is that? Is that just a random comment?
I really don't know.
Was he calling our podcast ASMR? We do have good mics.
Yeah.
The way you talk into the mic is like you make love to the mic. You're like,
well, I mean, I got to keep my mouth up into it.
Well, you're like, it's possible. Yeah, you're always kind of.
Well, I see, there's a wall here, and then there's like a baby sleeping on the other side. So like, I'm always like,
no, you've done this for 3 years, pal. Pre-baby.
Yeah, I know. But it's just it's when there's other people, you gotta keep it a little quieter. It's interesting.
Our number one fan from New Zealand, Jonathan, says, "Don't bother with Dune Prophecy. It's so boring." You're the first person to say that. which I'm assuming it's trailed off now mid-season, if I had to guess. Because Jonathan's usually a pretty good judge of shows, from what we can tell from our papacy, our high up throne of show judgment. Zach, we can look down upon everybody's.
Yeah.
Hey Zach, how's the record collection coming along? I've just started framing a few of my fave rare covers. Let us know what some of those covers are, Zach. Jonathan. How's your collection going, Zach? What do you got going on?
It's coming along. I haven't really bought anything since just before Halloween. I think last things I bought was the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack, the Dead Man's Bones album, but it's good. I think I need to buy a different thing that they're all sitting in, because it's a bit full, a little more full than I thought it would be, but it works. But yeah, I'm curious to know what your favorite records are, so drop a comment in there next time.
Yeah, I think my last two, you got me one. Jack White album.
Oh yeah.
And then I got one, a Casey Musgraves vinyl. Someone special gifted that to me.
Nice.
And anyways, next from Jonathan. Lucas, I think Jonathan comments as he's listening to the episode. Lucas will be crucial in season 2. He's so smart, and he's in the trailer for episode 5. Well, yeah, you're right. He was in it. And we don't watch the trailers for the next episodes because we want to be surprised. But I agree. I think he's going to be crucial. Let's see. Okay. Retep 4565. If the Lucas character would not have returned after season 1, I don't think anyone would have missed him. The Lucas Meadows scene must have some relevance for future events, and I don't think we have seen the last of Lucas. You were right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Something she found out about the silo was very disconcerting to her, and it seems that she was fed up with the status quo and wanted to stir things up. Why else tell Lucas he is not allowed to know? Also, she would have known that her leaving the silo would further increase the unrest among its population. Good points all around there. I agree with you pretty much everything you said there.
Mm-hmm.
Marcos, welcome back, my friend. Next comment. For All Mankind definitely has better acting than The Foundation. I would definitely have to agree with you on that. Although, yeah, I would definitely have to agree with you. Lee Pace, though, is fantastic as the Emperor.
Amazing.
In Foundation. He's like really good.
That's the one thing I love about the Foundation, is seeing those core players, the brothers, play all of these different versions of themselves. That's fun.
I think Gail's cute as well, but that doesn't necessarily translate into the acting. But yeah. There's other good actors in there too. I think the Australian guy who plays the love interest of what's the name of that girl? The warden. What is her name?
Oh God.
Whatever. Tune into our Foundation.
I can't remember. Yeah. We covered this in detail.
2 more from Jonathan. Hey guys, New Zealand loves you. Thank you, Jonathan. Landman has to be the next series that you guys do episodes on. Believe me.
Huh.
You said that about Dune Prophecy. Now 4 episodes later, you've told us it's boring. Message us at the end of Landman. I'm going to watch Landman personally. I promise you that. But I don't know if we're going to do it episodically. I'll tell you that. I don't know if we got a market out there, Jonathan, for Landman. If you can help us personally get this show to 10,000 concurrent listeners on every single platform, then I will do every show imaginable. I will work 72-hour weeks. So will Zach. I'll drag him with me.
Yeah. Got an anchor tied to my foot there.
I mean, you would be running to go record it.
Yeah.
I just saw this thing on Netflix called blah blah. Do this now. All right. Categories.
Categories. How about favorite character of the episode?
Billings. Yeah, Billings.
Yeah, Billings is good.
How about you?
I was probably gonna go Sims on this one, honestly.
Sims. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, I think he was a little dynamic in this one compared to the norm. How about favorite scene in the episode?
Bernard doing his thing in Sim's house. Demoting him.
Actually, that was pretty damn funny.
Demoting him and then making him swear on the pact. I thought that was great. I love that scene because he just knew both of them are so full of crap the whole scene. He just knew He was like, "Oh, you read the Pact every night?
Yeah.
Bring your Pact out here right now. How about that?
Let me
Bring
see
your
it.
Pact out."
How worn is it? That actually was a great scene. I was gonna say the scene between Pete Nichols and Bernard.
Oh, great scene. Fantastic scene.
Yeah, that was a good one. How about favorite line of the episode?
I don't have one. But I know yours is going to be random as hell.
I mean,
it's going to be like, don't shoot, or something random.
Remember that one moment in this episode where someone's like, oh, shoot, a winch. No, I don't know, but ever since you said random, now all I can think of is Patrick Kennedy. I'm bleeding into a fucking hole.
Yeah, I'm bleeding through a hole, man. He's got like the most random.
Yeah. I guess I'll give it to there wasn't any really big.
If he was in a stoner comedy, if Patrick Kennedy was in a stoner comedy, he'd be working at the bowling alley. 100%. 100%.
Oh man,
I just work here, man. That would be his line. That would be it. Anyways,
yeah, I could see that.
Are we done?
We are done, sir.
No more categories?
No. Three's our sweet spot there.
We're midway through, guys. How many more episodes do we have before Christmas?
Well, I mean, that's like 2 weeks.
So we've got...
Oh, no. It's just next week. Because the following week is...
Wow. Okay, guys.
The day after Christmas.
So we'll see you on the last episode before Christmas. And we hope you're enjoying December. We hope... I haven't got any of my Christmas shopping done yet. None of it.
Same.
Absolutely none of it. We did a vacation in November this year, which was splendid. I recommend it to everybody. The weather's much better than what we usually do, which is travel around December, January. Much better weather in November. However, December flies by when you take a week off in November. And I'm up to my ears in work, which thank you, Lord. But get your shopping done this week. Get it done. You know what you got to do. I got to get it done. Let us know. I got to get my niece's stuff. I got to get everybody's stuff. I got to go light up their house this weekend. I mean, it's been a lot going on in a good way.
That's good. I've got to do my shopping. I mean,
that's it.
We've got the decorations done. That's been done for a little while.
I'm gonna go visit you. I'm gonna go visit you and say no. I'm not gonna do any of my shopping. I'm gonna just go visit you.
Yeah, just come up. We'll go to Bar Citra. It'll be solid.
Well, can we do a live podcast from Bar Citra?
You know, I could probably swing it. I feel like I'm pretty close to the owners at this point.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, cool. All right, let's end this. Thank you guys for tuning in, and can't wait till we see you on the next one because it'll be an interesting one.
That is for sure. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Silo by Story Archives. You can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts, Apple and Spotify podcasts primarily. You can visit us on YouTube at Soapbox Podcast Network. Email us at contact@soapbox.house, and you can visit our website at soapbox.house, where you'll find links to this show and a whole bunch of our other social profiles.
Have a great week.